This is the affidavit for arrest warrant in the Patrick Frazee case, and I thought we would go over this as we near the end of the case, and it's going to go to the jury very shortly. So, the people of the state of Colorado versus Frazee, Patrick, date of birth April 18th, 1986. Patrick is a white male, 6 foot 2 inches, 205 pounds, and he's listed as having black hair and hazel eyes. The undersigned, a peace officer, is defined in 16.2.5-101 Colorado Revised Statutes as amended, being first duly sworn on oath, moves the court to issue an arrest warrant for Patrick Frazee, date of birth 4/18/1986, as provided in Rule 4.2 of the Colorado Rules of Criminal Procedure. As grounds, therefore, the undersigned applicant states that the facts submitted in support of this request are set forth in accompanying attachment designated as Attachment A, which is attached hereto and made a part hereof, and that probable cause exists to believe that the aforementioned person has committed the offense of murder in the first degree, a Class 1 felony, and solicitation to commit murder in the first degree, a Class 2 felony, in violation of Colorado Revised Statutes 1973 as amended within the County of Teller and the State of Colorado. It is respectfully requested that bond on this arrest warrant be set in the amount of no bond. This is Attachment A. The following affidavit is submitted to the court to document the probable cause in support of an arrest for issuance of an arrest warrant for Frazee Patrick, date of birth April 18th, 1996. This offense is fully documented in the Woodland Park Police Department offense report detailing the offenses: murder in the first degree, a Class 1 felony; solicitation to commit murder in the first degree, a Class 2 felony. With the victims identified as Bereth Kelsey, birth date 9/15/1989, race white, gender female. Your affiant is Commander Christopher Adams, number 1220, a duly sworn and state certified police officer with the Woodland Park Police Department, who has been employed as such since 2004. Your affiant has participated in other law enforcement investigations and has relied on other investigations with more investigative training and experience, including but not limited to Special Agent Andrew Cohen, Federal Bureau of Investigation, Special Agent Kevin Holland, FBI, and Agent Greg Slater, CBI, Colorado Bureau of Investigation. 2. Your affiant submits the following facts to demonstrate probable cause to believe that on or about November 22nd, 2018, in the County of Teller in the State and District of Colorado, the defendant, Patrick Frazee, did knowingly and with intent, after deliberation, commit murder in the first degree and solicited her murder in violation of Colorado Revised Statutes 18-3-102 and 18-2-301. This affidavit is being submitted to support the issuance for an arrest warrant for these offenses. The facts in this affidavit come from my personal observations, my training and experience, and information obtained from other agents, law enforcement officials, and witnesses. Much of this affidavit is derived from information provided to me by other law enforcement agencies, namely the FBI and CBI. This affidavit is intended to show merely that there is sufficient probable cause for the requested warrant and does not set forth all of my knowledge about this matter. All information contained in this affidavit can be found in the Woodland Park Police Department case, report number 18-1530. Facts in support of probable cause, background of those mentioned in this affidavit: Patrick Frazee, date of birth 4/18/86, is a Colorado resident and is last known person to investigators to see Kelsey Bereth alive. Frazee and Bereth are the parents of and this is their daughter Kaylee, but it's redacted, and although they do not live together, they co-parented And that should be Patrick works as a rancher. I don't know why they took that out. I think that was a mistake. And is involved in the farrowing of horses. Your affiant was unable to locate any prior felony criminal history for Frazee. Crystal Lee Kenny, date of birth April 4th, 1986, is an Idaho resident who lives in North Kimberly, Idaho, and is a registered nurse. Your affiant was unable to locate any prior felony criminal history for Lee. Investigators believe Lee has known Patrick Frazee for over 12 years and has traveled to Colorado in the past, other than as it relates to this investigation. Summary of a missing person investigation in Colorado. On December 2nd, 2018, Cheryl Barrett reported to the Woodland Park Police Department that she had not been able to communicate with her daughter, Kelsey Barrett, date of birth 9/15/89, in over a week, and requested the Woodland Park Police Department to conduct a welfare check at her residence. Officers responded to Kelsey's residence in Woodland Park, Colorado, and were unable to locate Kelsey. Barrett's family reported that it would be highly unusual for Barrett to leave without informing any of her friends and family. A missing person investigation was initiated and weeks later ultimately turned into a murder investigation. Of note, and in some portions of this affidavit, depending on the date of events being discussed, the investigation may be referred to as a missing persons investigation or a murder investigation for the purposes of this affidavit that are indeed one and the same. Officers later contacted the father of Kelsey's child, Patrick Frazee, who claimed that he last saw Kelsey on November 22nd, 2018, when the two exchanged custody of their child in an alley behind her residence. Frazee reported he had not seen her since then. Ultimately, Frazee is allegedly the last person that ever saw Barrett alive. Frazee told officers that his romantic relationship with Kelsey was over, and during their custody exchange, he returned items that belonged to her, including a handgun, residence keys, and other personal belongings. To date, none of these items have been recovered. Ultimately, investigators located video surveillance from the Safeway in Woodland Park, Colorado, that showed Barrett with her daughter shopping at the store. It appeared she departed the grocery store at approximately 12:27 on November 22nd, 2018. Investigators located receipts from Safeway in her residence and vehicle that corroborate this information. Between 12:54 and 1:17, also on November 22nd, Frazee is captured on surveillance footage at Walmart in Woodland Park, Colorado, with a baby carrier and a similar blanket as seen in the Safeway footage. Although the baby cannot be clearly seen in the footage, it is likely she was in the baby carrier. Frazee told a Woodland Park police officer that he met with Barrett in an alleyway outside of her residence to exchange custody of the child. Investigators believe DNA profile was developed and investigators learned that the blood matched the profile for Bereth. Additionally, one unknown male profile and one unknown female profile were also developed from various areas of the bathroom. It is unlikely the male profile is Frazee, based on lab reports. Additionally, Bereth's mother stated there had previously been a bath rug near the toilet and shower in the bathroom, and they are reported to be missing. As will be discussed below, Lee eventually admitted to investigators what happened in Bereth's residence. On or about December 13th, investigators applied for and were granted a search warrant for the residence of Frazee. That warrant was executed, and although some of the items of evidentiary value were collected, the body of Bereth was not found. For example, during the search at Frazee's residence, a bottle of bleach, a Swiffer, which is a mop, were found to have presumptive positive tests for the presence of blood. These items were not seized during the first warrant, and the second warrant was applied for and granted to return to the item to seize them. Lab test results are pending on these items, but no results have been received at this time. There was also a document found with a list of 4 to 5 people with a list of 5 people who could provide medical care for Kaylee in the event that Frazee was absent. The document was dated December 12, 2018, and signed Patrick Frazee. Of particular interest, Kelsey Bereth's name is not on the list, presumably because she is deceased. Based on the call detail analysis from Frazee's cell phone, investigators learned that Frazee was communicating with 208-731-6679. 208 is an Idaho area code during the dates surrounding Bereth's suspicious disappearance. Open source and other information revealed that the 66 and 79 phone number belonged to Lee, including a recorded phone interview conducted by FBI agents on December 14, 2018. With Lee on the 6679979 number. During the interview, in short, Lee provided materially false and misleading information during that recorded interview. And during the interview, Lee was asked when the last time she communicated with Frazee was, and she responded by saying she wasn't sure, and she'd have to look at her phone. And when pressed by the interviewing agent, she responded within a month and a half. She stated that she was actually at Frazee's residence. She then stated she was actually at Frazee's residence in Colorado on Saturday, November 24th, from approximately 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. to look at a horse, and arrived back in Idaho on Sunday, November 25th, 2018 at approximately 10:30 a.m. or 11 a.m. She learned that Frazee had made up the story and told Lee what to tell the FBI if they called. Lee stated that she never met Bereth and had no idea who she was until she saw the online news articles about her disappearance. Lee did know that Frazee had an infant daughter, and it is unusual that she would not know who the mother of the child was. As mentioned above, there are call records between Frazee and Lee, who used 208-6679 number on the 24th of November, and around 7:23 a.m., 10:47 a.m., 11:39 a.m., 1:06 p.m., and 5:21 p.m. when Lee said she was at Frazee's residence. Your affiant submits that it would be immediately unlikely for Lee to be talking with Frazee when they were together at his residence, as people tend to communicate in person and not on telephone when they are with each other. On a return trip, she stated that she drove on I-70 through Salt Lake City. Lee borrowed a black vehicle from a friend but could not remember the make or model of the car. Lee stated Frazee did not ask her to take Bereth's phone and dispose of it. Investigators applied for and were granted a search warrant for the call detail records and historical cell site information related to Lee's cell phone. In summary, a review of the information revealed that Lee's phone was connected to not only a cell phone tower, but a sector of the tower that would service Barrett's residence on the morning of November 24, 2018. The tower is some distance from Frazee's residence and likely would not serve his residence. The fact tends to lead investigators that Lee was not at Frazee's residence, like she stated, and lied during her interview. Additionally, investigators learned that Lee's phone traveled back to Idaho on the 24th and 25th of November. Coincidentally, Lee's phone was connected to the same tower and sector in a remote area of Colorado-Utah border on the morning of November 25th, 2018. Specifically, Lee's phone was connected to the tower at approximately 4:13 to 4:17 a.m. and 4:23 a.m. Barrett's phone was connected to the tower at approximately 4:11 a.m., 4:16 a.m. It is reasonable to assume, based on this information, that Lee was likely in possession of Barrett's cell phone. Also, during the trip to Idaho, Lee appeared to be in communication with Frazee utilizing her cell phone, including phone activity shortly after the last activity of Barrett's cellular telephone. Also on December 4th, investigators seized the cell phone belonging to Frazee. Also on the 4th of December, Lee obtained a new cell phone according to her phone records. The acquisition of Lee's new phone will be discussed below in more detail. On or about December 17, 2018, Lee was interviewed by agents from the CBI and FBI at her residence. During the recorded interview, Lee stated that she wanted to speak to her attorney before continuing to speak with investigators, but indicated she would want to be cooperative. Indeed, Lee eventually cooperated with law enforcement, and the details of the information she provided will be discussed below. Chad Lee, an Idaho resident, was interviewed by the FBI agents in Idaho. Chad stated he was married to Crystal Lee for approximately 8 years, but was recently divorced in the summer of 2018. Chad and Crystal still share a home in Idaho, and they raise 2 children together. Lee lied to Chad about her whereabouts during November 24th and 25th of 2018. Initially, she told Chad she was going to a birthday party at a friend's house in Idaho, and then told Chad she was going to help her friend Megan move, also in Idaho. Investigators ultimately learned that Lee drove Megan's 2012 blue Volkswagen Jetta to Colorado on or about these dates, and Megan was later identified as Megan Garrison, and her interview will be discussed below. After Lee was interviewed on the phone around December 14th, 2018 by FBI agents, Chad stated she was very nervous when she talked to him about the phone call and finally told Chad she had actually gone to Colorado to see a horse. She and Patrick owned together around Thanksgiving. Lee also stated that she thought someone set her up. Based on the facts Lee concealed her whereabouts to Chad, combined with lying to FBI agents, it is reasonable to believe Lee's statements are unreliable at best. Chad also stated that Crystal and Patrick dated in college and that they were involved in a sexual relationship during at least 2016 and possibly 2017. Chad did not want any of the details of the affair and did not have further information regarding their relationship to provide. Lee did not provide her sexual and romantic relationship with Patrick to investigators. Lee did not mention her sexual and romantic relationship with Patrick to investigators. And based on the circumstances, investigators consider this information to be both material and relevant, and that Lee purposely concealed this information prior to her fully cooperating and truthful statements to investigators on December 20th, 2018. On or about December 4th, Lee told Chad that she could not find her cell phone and asked Chad to take her down to town and purchase a new one, which ultimately was a replacement Samsung device. Based on phone records obtained from Verizon Wireless, investigators knew Lee had a Samsung device during the time period of Barrett's disappearance. Again, the timing of her new phone acquisition in Idaho is approximately the same as when Patrick's phone was taken by law enforcement in Colorado. Chad knows that Lee had a Google email account and that he had her account information stored in his phone, contacts under the name Crystal Lee, and it was Mrs.Lee 10210@gmail.com. Investigators applied for and were granted a search warrant for the account, and during a review of the account, investigators found Google location history for most of November and December of 2018. However, the dates surrounding the murder of Barrett contain no location history. Interview of Megan Garrison, a longtime friend and co-worker of Lee. Megan is the owner of a black 2012 Volkswagen Passat sedan and is a co-worker and friend with Lee. They have been friends for approximately the last 10 years. She knew Lee was friends with Patrick in Colorado and that they were friends prior to her relationship with Megan. Megan and Crystal have swapped vehicles in the past because sometimes Megan has a use for a pickup truck and Lee owns one. On November 23, 2018, Megan asked Lee if they could switch vehicles because she needed to move due to a change in a family situation and wanted to borrow Lee's truck. Megan knew Lee was planning to drive to Colorado in her vehicle. Lee sent Megan a text on the afternoon of the 24th asking if she could stay the night at her house because she had too much to drink. Megan stated the content of the message was false, that Lee did not really want to sleep at her house, and the message was meant to establish an alibi in case her ex-husband checked on her phone or called Megan to see where Lee was. Around 4 o'clock on November 25th, Megan meets Lee to swap vehicles back at the Walmart in Jerome, Idaho. It is noted that the Walmart in Jerome, Idaho is located approximately 20 miles from the last location of Barrett's cell phone on November 25th. Around Friday, December 14th, Lee called Megan and told her she was contacted by the FBI and that the FBI might want to ask her questions about Lee borrowing her car. Lee did not provide specific instructions as to what to say to the FBI or other investigators. Megan saw a news article about Barrett and decided to check for the status of her weapon she keeps in her vehicle. She keeps 8 rounds in the magazine and nothing in the chamber. Upon the return of her vehicle, the weapon had 1 round in the chamber and 6 rounds in the magazine. That means 1 is missing. Megan never loads a round into the chamber, and Megan felt it was suspicious the gun was in a different condition. Ultimately, several days after her interview, Megan reported to an FBI agent that Lee called her, stating she lied to her and was apologetic and told her that she was going to cooperate with law enforcement. An interview was conducted by agents from the FBI and CBI with Michelle Stein, date of birth 9/5/1971, in Twin Falls, Idaho. Michelle is a paralegal at a personal injury law firm in Twin Falls. Your affiant was unable to Between the dates of approximately September 1st, 2018 and November 22nd, 2018, Lee was solicited by Frazee on at least 3 separate occasions to murder Barrett. Lee took specific and significant steps towards accomplishing the murder. Lee actually stated that she actually went to a Starbucks coffee and brought the coffee to Barrett's residence, and although she did not put anything in the coffee, Frazee wanted her to put Valium and Ambien in the coffee. On another occasion, Frazee provided Lee a metal pipe and instructed her to go to Barrett's residence and hit her with the pipe. Lee did not go through with it and returned the pipe to the Frazee residence. Megan Garrison knew of Patrick's recruiting Lee to help kill Barrett in October of 2018. Your affiant submits that this information tends to speak towards Frazee's intent and deliberation prior to the murder of Barrett, and information obtained from Lee tends to corroborate Megan's statements. On or about November 22nd, 2018, Lee stated that Frazee called her and instructed her to come to Colorado and told her she had a mess to clean up. Lee stated she couldn't come until the 24th of November, and when she did come, she brought bleach, gloves, a hairnet, shoe covers, and other supplies from Idaho. Your affiant submits that when Frazee discovered a mess, when Frazee discussed a mess, Lee understood that as Barrett had been killed. Cell phone call and text records support the fact that Lee and Frazee did indeed have a conversation on the 22nd of November 2018, as Lee reported. Lee had knowledge of how Frazee murdered Barrett because he told her about it in detail. Frazee used a baseball bat to kill Barrett in the living room of her residence on the 22nd of November. Frazee had tied something around Barrett's eyes and was having her gas scents of different candles. While she was blindfolded and distracted, he hit her with the bat, causing her death. Frazee was concerned he left a tooth behind in the residence because when he hit her in the face with the bat, it presumably caused several of her teeth to become dislodged. Lee stated she in fact found that tooth, including the tooth root, and later disposed of it. Frazee's daughter was present in the residence when her mother was murdered by Frazee. Specifically, Frazee stated she was inside a playpen in the back bedroom of the residence. Investigators were able to look at Frazee's historical cell site locations and found Frazee's phone was connected to a tower that would service Barrett's residence between the hours of approximately 1300 to 1630 on November 22nd, 2018. The information tends to support Lee's information about the location of Frazee on November 22nd. Furthermore, investigators located a child playpen at Barrett's residence. Frazee instructed Lee to clean Barrett's residence. Lee described a horrific scene at Barrett's residence that was inclusive of blood all over the residence. Blood was on all the curtains, pillows, books, baby toys, stuffed animals, oven mitts, Barrett's purse, and other items. Lee took those items covered in blood from Barrett's apartment and burned them on Frazee's property with Frazee, which will be discussed more below. Lee described that she spent hours cleaning the residence. Blood was also on the floor in the kitchen, on the walls, on the ceiling, on the television, pictures, couch, and books. Lee used bleach and Windex to clean the residence. Lee wore gloves, a hairnet, booties, and a white suit that covered her whole body. She also used the shower to help clean up the residence. Lee stated investigators could still find Barrett's blood on the rock face around the fireplace because she was hoping investigators would find it. There was also blood on the baby gate, which Lee moved to the back bedroom. She also stated that there might be blood on the base of the walls. Your affiant has viewed photos of Barrett's residence and found a fireplace that matched the description that Lee gave. Frazee originally took Barrett's body from her residence and stored it in a black plastic tote with silver handles at the Nash Ranch on the 22nd of November. The tote was stored in a barn atop of a haystack at the ranch, and Frazee used a tractor to put the tote up high. He later took the tote from the Nash Ranch to his property on the late afternoon, early evening of November 24th, 2018. Lee went with Frazee to Nash Ranch to retrieve the body, which explains how she has intimate details of what the tote looked like and where it was stored. Investigators were able to review historical cell phone records, and cell phones belonging to Lee, Barrett, and Frazee were connected to a cell phone tower outside of Cripple Creek, Colorado, between 17:01 hours and 18:14 hours on November 24th, 2018. The tote was transported in Frazee's red pickup truck from Nash Ranch to his residence in Florissant. Frazee put the black tote in a trough on his residence, along with items from Barrett's residence, the bat used to kill Barrett, and burned it to dispose of the evidence. The trough was described as a round aluminum structure that would hold approximately 100 gallons. Accelerants, including gasoline and motor oil, were poured into the trough as the fire burned, and Lee stated Frazee poured at least 5 gallons of gasoline from a gasoline container into the trough to keep the fire burning and continue to add wood to the fire. Frazee wanted Lee to take the body back to Idaho, but Lee refused. Lee never saw the body prior to it being burned, but Frazee said the body was in the black tote. However, at one point the tote had melted and there was a heap that Lee believed to be a human body still in the fire. Frazee gave Lee the firearm that belonged to Barrett late in the evening on the 24th of November. Frazee wanted Barrett's firearm to appear to be missing in an attempt to lead investigators to believe that Barrett might have committed suicide. Frazee said that she wouldn't take the body, and since she wouldn't take the body, she needed to take Barrett's firearm with her and dispose of it. Lee disposed of all the contents of Barrett's purse and her cell phone. The contents of Barrett's purse were burned at the same time as her body. There was a mace container, a pair of earrings, and Barrett's identification card. These items were all burned with the exception of Barrett's cell phone. Frazee gave Lee the cell phone that belonged to Kelsey while at his residence in Florissant, Colorado on November 24th, 2018. Lee stated she used Barrett's phone in Woodland Park, Colorado, Grand Junction, Colorado, after getting to Utah, and in Idaho before getting rid of the phone in Idaho. Lee sent text messages from Barrett's phone at the direction of Frazee. Frazee told her to text Barrett's employer, her mother, and his phone. Investigators were able to corroborate this information with cell site records, confirmed Barrett's phone was indeed used in Woodland Park, Grand Junction, and Utah. These specific locations were not released to the media, and because Lee had knowledge of these locations, investigators tend to consider the information reliable and corroborated. Lee stated that she sent Barrett's mother a text message referencing that she would call her tomorrow. After obtaining full cooperation from Lee, she admitted to her involvement in the destruction of evidence from the murder of Kelsey Barrett, cleaning Barrett's blood from her residence, transporting Barrett's body to her phone to Idaho, and ultimately told investigators that Frazee did indeed murder Barrett with a baseball bat in the living room of her residence. Lee's friend Megan told investigators that Frazee had solicited Lee in the past, and then on October 22nd, 2018, Lee told Megan Patrick had asked her to help kill Barrett. The information was corroborated by Lee's statements and speaks directly to Frazee's intent and deliberation to murder Barrett. Barrett has been missing for weeks, and there has been national news attention on major networks related to her disappearance. To date, no one has come forward saying they have seen Barrett, and her family and friends have not heard from her. There are no indications that Barrett is still alive, and including logins to her known accounts, emails, or even the use of a cell phone or ENT bank account. Although the remains of Kelsey Barrett have not yet been located, Lee admitted that she participated in the destruction of the evidence of murder and viewed and identified the murder scene, provided information to investigators about how Barrett's body was burned. Investigators have begun to search but have not yet located Barrett's remains. Based on the facts set forth above, I submit probable cause exists to believe that on or about November 22nd, 2018, within the state of Colorado and within Teller County, the defendant, Patrick Frazee, after deliberation and with the intent to cause the death of a person other than himself, caused the death of Kelsey Barrett and solicited the murder of Kelsey Barrett in violations of Colorado Revised Statute 18-3-102, a Class 1 felony, and solicitation to commit murder in the first degree, a Class 2 felony. Therefore, your affiant respectfully requests the issuance of an arrest warrant charging the same. And that is all. So that's something to go over, to just have while we come to the end of this case. And if you have any questions, you could always go to one of our lives. We'll be discussing the case. Thanks for watching, guys.